Well, you can say that all you want, but I'm not going to be nice today. It's a miserable, nasty day, and the people in South Florida want to continue being miserable and nasty, and we're going to do everything in our power to make them happy. Just had a wonderful conversation with Fruitcake, who, of course, is one of the real radio. He's the real reviewer of radio in South Florida. Jicka and Linda Thornton are, they do a good job, but they pale into insignificance. They aren't nearly on top of what's happening in this business as our friend down in Kendall is. And, of course, we just had an interesting conversation. There are rumors, I don't want to spill the beans on the air, but there are rumors that someone who used to work here on the weekend has gotten his toes on the fire again in Tampa. And before I can substantiate those rumors, I'm not going to let it all out, including the word that he allegedly said again on the air, but it's just amazing what goes on in this business. Anyway, we do have, as Kathy promised you or threatened you, we have 4 open hours again. And I'd made mention on her show, if you were listening, that we do have a lot of interesting guests coming up this week and in future weeks. And the only reason we haven't had any guests in so long is because we've been changing producers like some people change their underwear. In fact, more often than some people change their underwear, which is pretty embarrassing. But so we've really been in limbo. And now, of course, Lori is here, and we're all excited about that. And she has that programming office so organized now that it's like antiseptic in there. I mean, you can't... You can eat off the floor. It's so clean. In fact, when I went in there this morning, I noticed there were a couple of the news people eating off the floor. It was fantastic. Anyway, I just want to mention, maybe we'll talk a little bit about restaurants today, because last night, it's easy to knock. Anybody can knock, and I do that all the time because the audience loves that. In fact, I had a great letter last week from somebody who was urging me on. They really enjoy when I tear into institutions or people or whatever, and I guess, they're kind of the same mentality that I am, and at the end it said, kill. In other words, just absolutely rip everybody, and I don't want to do that, because if somebody does a good job, we like to give them credit. And speaking of that, Ernie Sochin is going to be here today, and Ernie's topic is the future of Eastern Airlines. He's going to have Jim Ashlock here, and also Ernie has promised that he's going to apologize for his intemperate behavior last Saturday when he attacked the campaign on the early bird and all of that mail, and when he made that rather pathetic plea for all those young listeners of his to send him cards. And Ernie and I kind of went through some of his mail together here the other day, and the youngest was about 107. I mean, it was incredible. Even the postcards looked kind of wilted, and it was amazing. So he's finally come into the real world and is beginning to understand where it's at. Now, Christie's is a restaurant in Coral Gables. There was a friend of mine who had a birthday yesterday. I don't want to mention Bill Calder's name because somebody over there get all upset. But Bill turned 39 yesterday, and he's writing a message on the screen now, taking a shot at Calder. Leave the man alone. He just celebrated a birthday. He's got that beautiful new car, and he's got his good friend over there with a pinstripe suit. Leave the guy alone. All I know, he used to make fun of me ordering the onion soup. Well, I didn't have veal parmesan, okay? That made him happy, because they don't have that on the menu, but they do have great steaks. Anyway, I always felt that Burns Steakhouse in Tampa had the best French onion soup. The Studio was a close second. The Studio has sensational onion soup, but I'm talking about with the thick cheeses. Is there such a word as cheeses? We got into that years ago when I was in West Palm Beach and radio station. He's the only one who knows anything. The rest of us just sit in here and we start fumbling around, and he writes all these messages on the screen and really is the nuts and bolts. And, of course, with what they pay him, it's no wonder that he has a lot of time to sit up there and read because, it's embarrassing. Anyway, he says he was dragged to it by his brother one day, and he just couldn't believe how bad it was. And I second the motion. Trevi's, and I saw, who's my friend over there at Channel 4? See, now I'm going to depend on you for everything. What is her name? The one who does the little puff feature at the end of the 5:30 news every day. We have a new format now. I just ask questions, and I'll have Kyle fill in the names. Robin Carter. You don't have to give me the name. And I saw Robin over there, and very nice lady, by the way. I like her a lot. She's a super person, and she did a nice segment on my dating show a few years ago, and she's just a wonderful lady. But, again, why she was eating there, I have no idea. A lot of people who are, and they have Marino's pictures all over the walls there, and you'd think that it would be a really great place. I mean, a guy who makes the pasta primavera, it says here, was covered by contact cement. Yeah, it was gruesome. I mean, it was really terrible. And why a guy with Marino's money would eat at Trevi's, one has to wonder. But you get the impression that Marino, he endorses everything. You know that? He lives in about 80 different places, if you believe all the ads. And, hey, listen, I don't blame him. More power to him. Whatever he can grab, good luck to him. That's what it's all about. I've got so many things to talk about here this morning. I really should have made a couple of notes. I was over at Channel 33 yesterday and had a meeting with Bob Greasy, who's also a super guy. Bob is just a natural and a really nice guy. We're getting ready to do the Hurricane baseball game starting March 13th on Channel 33. And who should walk in but a gentleman named Jerry Carr, who is from Rochester, New York, my hometown. Maybe that's what we'll do today. Because I've always said that most of Rochester and upstate New York is down here, and I know that the other people in the audience get very upset, not to mention terminally bored when we start talking about that. And that's good, see, because it's kind of like an in thing. It's like when the New Yorkers from the city start calling and talking about all the favorite delis and places that none of the rest of us ever heard of, and we don't care. We're not interested in that. So this is like kind of getting even. But anyway, and I thought this man looked...
The most horrifying movie you'll see this year happens in broad daylight. They look like senior citizens, but behind the wheel, on the open road, they become the driving dead. Yes, death travels at 5 miles per hour. Dead from the neck up, they ceaselessly prowl the streets of the city, striking mind-numbing fear into the hearts and minds of drivers everywhere. See them come to a dead halt in the middle of an intersection. See them ruthlessly ignore stoplights. See them drive all day with a turn signal on. So chilling, you'll be afraid to drive home from the theater. Don't miss The Driving Dead, coming to a dead stop near you.
1018 at WINZ. By the middle-aged and the shameless, would you believe that a certain host in town, I don't want to mention Steve Kane's name because he enjoys it when we pick on him. Do you know that he had Dr. Bombas on his show yesterday? Again, look at Kyle. Kyle is rolling. I mean, when you talk about being so desperate that you will take anybody, that you will rip off, when you start taking Alan Burke's old guests, and I mean old, you've reached the end of the line. The end of the line. We'll get into that in just underwear on a daily basis, and you have to, the best thing to do is get a scorecard and a pencil with a big eraser. Don't get a pen, but a pencil with a gigantic eraser, and they're just changing and frantically moving things around and just going nuts, which is always, of course, the sign of really knowing what you're doing. But when Steve Kane can bring on a guy like Dr. Bombas after he's had his friend, the amazing Randy, on debunking psychics and pretending to be poking fun at it, I got to tell you, that's the ultimate desperation. I mean, talk about reaching new lows and new levels of desperation. That's what they've done over there. It's just incredible. So this market continues to be more and more bizarre as each day goes by. It just, you shake your head in amazement and wonder what the hell's going on. Also, Kathy mentioned this morning, and Frank was reading it on the news over and over again because we want to make sure that the youngsters out there know that they're going to have an extra holiday in Dade County this fall, an extra day off, when Pope John Paul II comes to South Florida. That's right. In fact, the UPI story even says Moishi Pupik come here as some major religious figure. I'm not talking about one of the government leaders because that would certainly never qualify, but some major religious leader from Israel come to South Florida, come to visit the beach, for example. Would they declare a school holiday? Of course not. If Oral Roberts came here on his last legs, waiting for God to take him, desperately begging for those final few million, would we declare a holiday? No way. But the Pope is going to come here in September, and right away the state is thinking about declaring a holiday, and the schools are letting all the kids out, and everybody's just going to have a wonderful time. What is it that he's going to do when he comes here? It's bad enough he's coming here. President Reagan is going to have a private meeting with